So guys, before we get into the video, I would just like to quickly thank bookmark.com for sponsoring this video. If you don't already know, Bookmark is one of the easiest and coolest website builders out there. The site lets you create your own personal website, whether that be a design portfolio or an online store, in the matter of minutes. It uses an AI website builder, meaning you can create a site with no technical knowledge whatsoever. So if this does interest you, make sure to head over to bookmark.com. The link's in the description. You can find more information on how to get started there. What's up guys, Visual here, but you can call me James, and in this video I'm going to be showcasing secret design finishing effects you need to know. So guys, I previously created a video similar to this around about a year ago. Looking back on that video, there are a large amount of effects which I no longer use, and the majority of the effects I use now revolve around actually color correction. Therefore, I believe an updated version was of course very necessary to help you guys out. The color correction effects that I will be showing you in this video are fairly simple to actually use and definitely will improve your designs. All of the color effects that I will be showcasing in this video are ones that I personally use for all of my work, whether that be client work or even just a simple YouTube thumbnail. So without further ado, let's get started with the effects that I use. Okay guys, so kicking things off here, the first effect that I do personally use is the camera raw filter. Okay, so if you do not use this filter already for your designs, then you are definitely missing out. As you can see here, this is the final image, but if I go ahead and just hide these layers, this is what the original image does look like. So after using camera raw filter effects and so forth, you can go ahead and definitely improve the overall look of your design. It doesn't matter what your design is, once it is complete, make sure everything is grouped, and then after that you can go ahead and press Ctrl J on your keyboard and then Ctrl E, and that will merge that group into one single layer. From here, what you want to do is grab your rectangle marquee tool on the left hand side, select all of the design, and then from there just right click it and go to layer via cut. Now you will have your design in one single layer that is fitted to the document size. After this, what you want to do is press Ctrl J on your keyboard to duplicate the layer, and now you will have a backup one just in case. From here, what you want to do is head over to filter here at the top and go to camera raw filter. If this effect is not there for you, then you definitely need to update your Photoshop depending on what version you are using. Now what you want to do is go ahead and click it. It does take a while to load, but once it does load, I can go through the settings. As you can see here, you will have a preview of your design here, and then towards the right hand side you will have all of the color adjustments that you can make. You can also go ahead and click these buttons at the bottom and you will be able to cycle through your before and after image. As you can see, I have mine side by side, so I'm going to go onto the full screen mode here so you guys can see it easier. First of all, we have temperature, which as you can see, if I move it to the left hand side becomes more blue, and then towards the right we get sort of like greeny yellow colors. For me personally, the blue is going to benefit me, so I will adjust the slider to around about -17. After this, we have tint, which as you can see now basically just adjusts the hue. So if we wanted it a bit more greeny, I guess we could go with that, but personally I'm going to keep mine on 0. Exposure basically increases the brightness and contrast quite dramatically. Actually, I'm going to keep mine on 0 because it's not overexposed or underexposed at all. We all know what contrast is. As you can see, if we decrease it here, it will become a lot lighter, and if we increase it, it will just become a lot darker. I always like to increase the contrast of my images, but not too much of course. It just obviously does depend. I'm going to put mine on around about +13. After this, we have highlights, which as you can see, if I decrease it, everything that was originally very bright we will now be able to see, especially like these mountains in the background. So because I have a lot of bright parts at the top, I'm actually going to decrease this a little just so you can see them, and especially the top part of this character. After this, we have shadows, which obviously increases or decreases the brightness of the shadow. So I'm going to move mine down a little just so it is a little bit darker. The white and black sliders are fairly easy to use. Of course, if I'm increasing the whites, then everything that is white on the header or the design will be increased. I personally am going to leave that on 0. As for the black slider, if I decrease it, then of course the blacks will become more dark, but if I increase it, they will become more light. So I'm going to move mine to around about -4, something like that. The clarity basically increases the amount of sharpness, I guess, on the header itself and makes it more detailed overall. You may want to increase this slightly, but I wouldn't overdo it. As you can see, it just makes it look a lot worse. So I'm going to put mine on around about +4. After this, we have dehaze, which I personally don't use, so I leave that on 0. As for the vibrance and saturation, of course this is adjusting the hue and saturation once again. If we increase the vibrance, it's going to make those blues a lot more blue, I guess. I'm going to leave the vibrance on around about +3. I don't really need that. And then the saturation I'm going to increase slightly as well, just because of it being a Fortnite header. The colors are very important. If we go back up to the top here, you can see we have a variety of other tabs. The next one we have is tone curves, which is basically adjusting like the overall brightness or decreasing it on the image. I'm going to go ahead and select a point at the top somewhere and move that up a little bit, and as you can see, the image is becoming lighter. And then to contrast this, I'm going to go down to the bottom here and move this down a little, and as you guys can see, this is adjusting the overall lightness and also darkness of the image. Moving on, we have detail. If we go ahead and increase this, it will basically add more sharpness to the image. This sometimes will work definitely for thumbnails. I'm going to increase mine a little bit to around about 13. Now moving on to the right hand side, we have Hsl Adjustments, which is basically the hue, saturation and luminance. This is really easy to use. I have zoomed in on the leaves especially, just so you can see the difference. If I go ahead and mess around with the greens here, that's going to change the leaves, for example. So anything that's green, it will obviously alter. So I'm going to move mine to I'm going to say +30. As you can see, they're more of a nice green color now. For me personally, my header is very blue already, so I don't really need to mess around with the sliders. But if I do obviously want it more of a like turquoise color, then I can have that option there. So I'm going to move mine to around about -8, and I'm also going to go ahead and move the aquas a little bit. I believe this looks really good now. You can then go and move on to saturation. This is really easy to use. If you increase the reds, for example, anything that's red is going to be increased in saturation, or say for example blue. I don't believe I really need to do this, so I'm going to leave it at that. And then finally we have luminance, which personally I do not use. However, if you want to adjust the sliders of each color there, you can as well. Moving on to the next tab here, we have split toning. Personally, I don't really use this at all. After this, we have effects, where you can alter the grain of the image. If you are making a cover up, for example, I can see why this may be necessary. However, for something like a Fortnite header, we don't want to add any grain to it. We then have calibration. I don't really mess with this, but of course it is similar to a lot of the other adjustments we have made. And then finally we have the preset tab. So if you want to go ahead and save a preset, go down to the bottom, go to new presets, and then name your preset. So I'm going to name mine Fortnite, and then I'm going to just literally press OK, and as you can see under the user presets, you will now have that preset there. Once you are done inside camera raw filter, all you need to do is press OK, and as you can see, your adjustments will be made to the design. Okay, so that is it for the first color effect. For the next one here, we have Vignette, which you can actually add inside the camera raw filter effect. However, personally, I prefer making it myself with the brush tool, as you can be more customizable with it. As you can see here, this is what the effect will look like. It will basically darken the sides of the overall design. It is really easy to do this. All you have to do is go to color adjustments, select curves, and then now what you want to do is actually decrease the top part here. I don't want to decrease it too much, so I'm going to put it to around about there. That looks good. Now what you want to do is go ahead and press Ctrl I on your keyboard, and that will now invert the colors. Now what you want to do is go to your brush tool. You want to select a size that does suit you. I'm going to go to around about 550, and you want to make sure your hardness is on 0%. Next, make sure your foreground color is selected to white, and now what you want to do is basically grab your brush tool and literally just brush the parts that you do want the vignette to be on. As you can see, this is what the original image does look like, but if I add the vignette, this is what it looks like, and it definitely does add more focus to the center of the header. Okay, so the last and final effect we do have is called color lookup. Now this is basically a very lazy way of adding a color correction, and all you have to do is go to the color adjustments, select color lookup, and now this window will open up. All you have to do is select the first option here, and you can select from one of the many presets that they do offer. The two strip one is one that a lot of people do use. Of course, it basically merges the colors into like two colors. Well, looks like one basically. And then after that, you have free strip, which merges it into three colors. I believe this looks really good for this header. It hasn't made too much of a difference, but say we use the two strip one, for example, and then we go ahead and mess around with the hue and make it like a blue color. It will obviously remove like the green in the leaves, which I personally do not like. It does depend on the header you are using. settings. Sometimes it looks better than others, but I believe for this one, I'm going to go with the free strip option. This actually does look really nice, so I'm going to stick with that. As you can see here, there are a variety of other color options that you can choose from. Say for example, horror blue, that looks okay, I guess, maybe if we decrease the opacity a little. And then you have these other ones like late sunset. This is used a fair amount, really doesn't look good on this header though, so all you have to do is go ahead and mess around with them, see which one works for you, and as I said, you can always decrease the opacity of each one if it is too much. Anyways guys, that is it for the video. If it did help you or you did go on to enjoy it, then make sure to leave a like, that would be much appreciated. As well as that, if you want to see more videos like this in the future, then please consider subscribing to the channel with post notifications on, and you will be notified every time I upload a brand new video. Finally guys, if you want to go ahead and improve any of your graphic design skills, then make sure to check out my design store. I have a load of packs on there that will help you improve. And yes guys, that's it for the video. As I said, hopefully you did enjoy. This has been Visual or James, and I'm out. Peace.